Do you have a project that somehow doesn't seem to get off the ground? Somehow you're procrastinating and there's no movement? What if you did? What would happen if you finally managed to get off your butt and got on with it? Did it? How would your life change and how would you feel? I'm Tina Helmut, I'm a Celtic expert, and in this video I'm going to explain to you what I did using a piece of ancient Celtic philosophy to overcome my own procrastination on a big project that I wanted to do. Now there's of course many reasons why we don't move forward with projects, right? We're all very busy people. The world is pushing and pulling us in all directions, right? And somehow it's difficult. You know, we have commitments, we have family, or maybe we feel we just haven't got the resources or skills or knowledge needed to move on with this project to get it finally off the ground. And that's all very well. But if you have this niggling feeling, this increasing sense of frustration about not moving forward with your project, then chances are there's actually something else going on here. And this is at least what happened to me. See, I had this really big project, which is essentially sharing my Celtic knowledge, my expertise with the world and showing what the Celts were really about. And somehow I just couldn't get it done. Somehow I just wouldn't stand in front of the camera and shoot those videos or publish those blog posts. And I had these viable excuses. You know, I was sick a lot, I was a single mom. There were things happening in my life, but I did feel really frustrated in the end. And I thought, what is going on? Why can't I? I mean, I'm a capable person. Why am I not capable to doing this? You know, I feel so strongly about it, and yet somehow I don't move forward. So I started to dig a bit deeper. And you know what I found? I found that underneath all of this, all of these viable excuses for why things weren't moving forward, I found that there was actually fear. Okay, sounds a bit strange, right? I mean, what did I have to be afraid of? I mean, how big a deal is it to stand in front of a camera? But see, I felt that I was scared. You know, I thought, what would people think? You know, my ex-colleagues, how would they feel if I would stand here and, you know, share this knowledge in a way that nobody had ever done before and dared go out there and do it, combine things that hadn't been combined before? How would they feel? If I stand here and I tell you things, what if you hate me? You know, I was afraid you might reject me, or I might fail in my project. And you know what? I was even scared I might succeed. What would happen then? My goodness, what if I was successful? I overcame this because obviously I'm standing here in front of you now. I promised you a piece of Celtic wisdom of how I did it, and here it comes. Many, many years ago, the ancient Gauls met Alexander the Great, and some of the ancient Greek sources tell us about this meeting. And apparently the Gauls said to Alexander the Great that there was only one thing they were afraid of, and that was that the sky would fall on their heads. Okay, the sky would fall on their heads. The Greeks thought that this meant the Celts were fearless. But I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going on here at all. They just didn't allow fear to rule them. I think they actually had a different perspective on fear, and that's reflected in this statement that the Greeks misunderstood so, and that has been misunderstood for many, many centuries. I think what's going on here is something else. I think what the Celts were trying to say there was that bad things happen, but if they do happen, you can ask yourself, well, what's the worst thing that can happen to you, which is that the sky falls on your head. In other words, your world comes to an end, you know, boom, dead, no more worries, okay? But until that happens, you're still alive. You can still do something about it. And I think that's what's going on here, that they said, if something happens, yes, we feel a fear, but then we ask ourselves about this worst thing, and then we say, we can still do something about it because the sky is still out there, okay? So what's happening is that when you're afraid, many of us go into paralysis, into kind of, oh, I won't do anything because as long as I don't do anything, then, you know, the horrible thing might not happen. The Celts, as I said, I think were also afraid, but they did something else. They took action because they said, we can still act, so let's act. And that is called courage. action in the face of fear, that's courage. And that's, I think, what the Celts really meant by this statement, and which is essentially the cure for fear. This is how you handle fear, because let's face it, fear doesn't go away. It's an important feature. If a bear comes towards me and I don't feel any fear, well, I die, right? Chances are. Fear is a good thing. So I think we're hardwired to feel fear and never to stop feeling fear, because it's important to our survival. But we can learn how to handle fear. We can learn to stop the paralysis that goes with fear and develop courage. And the way to develop courage is by moving, by acting. So you say, this is all very well, Tina, but acting, well, I've been trying to act, right? And not just still sitting there procrastinating. So here are some steps that you can take to get from this fear paralysis into movement. And I call them the 3 M's that ultimately mean you get the 4th M, which is movement. The first M is called motivation. What you need is something that motivates you to actually start moving. And you do this by not imagining the worst case scenario, which we know because it's the sky falling on our heads. No, you go for the best case scenario, which is, what's the wonderful thing that's going to happen if I manage to get this project going, if I succeed with this project? So that's M number 1, motivation. M number 2 is management. You're going to have to come up with a plan. And I don't mean necessarily this ginormous kind of plan that is incredibly detailed, but you need an outline of where you are, what general steps you need to take, and where you want to go. And then you can forget all about this. You have your big goal, fair enough, but don't look for that too much, because what happens then is that you can get overwhelmed. If you are an untrained, not particularly slim person and your aim is to run a marathon, if you go and you say marathon, you're going to very likely be demotivated again. So what you need to do is say, okay, I know my goal, that's fair enough, but I'm now going to go for a smaller step. What's the first step I can take? I could start going for a walk. Now that's non-threatening, right? I can do this. So I go for a walk. That's my first step. And that's what you need to do. You need to find the next step. And it should be a small one, a manageable one. So in my case, just do the one next video, okay? Not to come up with 200 videos in a year, one video, that's it, okay? And that's our second M. Third M is momentum, okay? Momentum. And how do I get that? You need to develop a routine. You're going to have to find time slots in your, yes, we all know, very busy daily life to move this forward, to work on this project. And what I recommend are at least 2-hour time slots, more if you can. So to say, like for example, Tuesday night, 8 to 10, I work on this project every Tuesday. I time slot it, I put it in my calendar, and that is my project time. Like you would put in going to the cinema with a friend or the theater with your spouse. Okay, you need to schedule this and stick to it. Tuesday nights are holy. They are when I work on my project. Nothing is going to deter me. Sorry, I can't do Tuesday night. Okay, so when you do that, you start developing momentum to finally get to the 4th M, that's movement. Okay, once you get this movement, and there's no right or wrong way how fast this movement has to be. Okay, that's maybe another thing to consider. You don't have to think from overweight, unfit person to marathon has to happen in 3 weeks. We all have a different schedules, our different needs, our different physical and mental states. So there's no right or wrong here. As long as there is movement, okay, that's important. And momentum will build up as long as you remember those 3 M's. So keep up the first 3 and the movement will follow and actually quite likely pick up and beat. So here it is. This is how to stop procrastinating and to get moving with this favorite subject of you that will manage to get you to that next level that you've always been thinking of. Okay? That's what I do. It works for me. So watch out for my next video and to demonstrate that I managed to do what I preach. And if you like this video, then please sign up to my channel so I can notify you when my next video does appear. And please share it with other people who might also be suffering from this procrastination issue. And until we meet again, Slán, be safe.